Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, in this episode I'm going to show you how I composed and shot this photo of Laguna Beach. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge Rameli. I am a French photographer living in the beautiful city of Paris, France, and the very sunny city of Los Angeles, California. And I make 2 tutorials per week. Now, click here if you want to get access of over hundreds or 200 RAW files from all over the world. When I started photography, it was really hard for me to find RAW files to train with. I'm going to give you access to RAW files from all over the USA, Europe, very high quality. Most of them were shot with a Sony a7R 36 million pixel. All you have to do is subscribe to my newsletter. You click here, you sign in, you put in your email address, you create an account, and then once you create an account, you go to the free lesson section, and for every episode, you just click on source file and you get the RAW files. It is one of the biggest library of free RAW files in the world, for free for you. Also, click here to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, last week I was at Laguna Beach. It's very close to Los Angeles, and I was blessed with one of the most amazing sunsets that I've seen in 12 years. And finding the right composition is sometimes tricky, but let me show you how I did it. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. So, I want to talk to you about a little photo that I took that had quite some success, because I think it was one of the biggest score I ever had on 500px. It arrived number 1 or number 2 in the world for 24 hours. So that's always what I do when I'm happy about a photo. I put it on 500px, and if it does really well, then I know I should maybe do a tutorial and share it with you guys. So I was last week in Laguna Beach, which is a very nice place in the south of Los Angeles, and I was hoping for a good sunset, and my prayers were heard, and there was a very nice sunset. And so I was trying to find the right composition to make the sunset, pop. The thing is, if you take, having a good sunset is only going to establish one thing in your photo. It's going to establish that you have a nice light. Photography means writing with the light, so it's a good starting point. You got a nice light. Different rules of composition, like the rule of third or leading lines, are just there for one thing and one thing only: to communicate a message. Your photo must communicate something. And what I was trying to communicate is the beauty of this place at Laguna Beach. And so my idea, I tried many things. I'm not going to show you all that I tried because it would take like 45 minutes, but believe me, I tried a lot. But the best composition that I found was having the sun set in my frame and making a little panorama moving to the right until this sort of house that's there. There's a little nice house there. And so what I did is, now if we look at the setting of this photo, this was shot at 1/8 of a second at f/22 ISO 50. Now, why did I do that? I went at ISO 50 on the tripod because I was trying to force the camera on a long exposure. I had one filter on. It was not an ND filter. It was a polarizing filter, because polarizing filter do very well with sunset. The problem, if I would put an ND filter, the problem is that it would change the colors a lot. And I don't know. I just when the night gets dark, I think you get a better result with a polarizer than an ND filter, because it doesn't alter the color so much. So and the reason why, so I was trying to get a little bit of a long exposure effect, because I don't like when you have high frequency in the water, when the ripples of the water are too frequent. They get very high frequency texture. I don't like that. I like when it's kind of smooth. So that's what I was trying to achieve. So by putting my filter on and putting my ISO at 50 and closing the whole way to f/22, I was only getting 1/8 of a second because there was a sun there. I was shooting in the sun. This one was shot at half a second at f/22. This one was shot at 2 seconds. I was trying to see if I could do different exposures. And what I did is I brought these two photos into one using, the option. You can click here, click the two photo, right click, you go into photo merge and panorama. This is the result that I got. And that's the composition. I think this was a stronger composition because you had the sun on one side and you have this on the other side. So how I would retouch this? Well, there's quite some work with it, and I'm just going to do what I usually do is I do like a little basic retouching just to see if it works or not. So I'm just trying to show you a little bit, how I work. I'm going to press I to take this out. So first thing is I'm going to crop this image make sure the horizon with the angle is straight. Okay, and then I'm just going to crop the image here, crop it here, here, and here. Okay, so that's a basic thing. I'm going to take out these spots. You know, more your aperture is closed, more the smallest spot that you have is going to appear. And that's something you should be aware of. So if you want to shoot at f22 like I'm doing, you need to have a very clean sensor. And apparently I had one spot that I forgot to take out. Okay, so that's my basic thing. Now I'm ready to, now the whole photo is too dark. Now why did I make it so dark? Because I wanted to get the sun in my photo, and I wanted to get all the details of the sun. I did not want this to blow out. So I took the bet that by underexposing of at least one f-stop, I just looked at my screen and made them really dark, that I would get a nice details. And as you know, the Sony A7R has some pretty good shadows. If you upload the shadows, we do get some noise, but not that much. So I'm going to boost the shadows, boost the exposure, bring down the highlights, do my black point by holding the Alt key until I get a little bit, like about 2-3% of the photo with black colors. That means this place is like completely black. Now I'm going to do my white point. Yeah, I don't want to burn my sun, so that's pretty as far as I go. And then usually, because this is a sunset, I'm going to go to shade and just add a little bit of magenta. And that's it. That's all I'm doing for now. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, not bad. But now I want to show you something. What happened is often when you have a sunset, when the sun goes behind the horizon, sometimes it's worth waiting. To be honest, I was about to leave with my wife, and then I said to her, I said, let me stay 10 more minutes and see how the sky is going to go. And this is what happened. 10 minutes after, or literally 10 minutes after, let's look at the time. This was shot at, my time is wrong, but 2:48, and this is 3:01. So 13 minutes later, the sky just became super, super red. This is a panorama that I try to do in portrait mode. So 1 photo, 2 photo, 3 photo, 4 photo, 5 photo of the same framing. And the sky, this is the raw files on retouch. Sky was crazy. Now this one I tried a different techniques. I shot it by hand. So when I shoot by hand, it's a whole different ball game. What I do is I first put in the speed 1/60 of a second, because that's how much I can shoot by hand. I like the freedom of shooting by hand. You can go really fast. F4, because that's the widest I could put my aperture on my 24-70 lens, and ISO 500 was the minimum ISO I could have to get a decent exposure. Okay, but I actually don't like this photo. The reason I don't like it is because of the speed of 1/6 of a second, you have this problem of what I call the high frequency texture. I like this. So this is the result of the panorama. And I didn't pick this photo because of the high frequency texture. You see, we see every detail of the water, and I don't like that at all. So moving further down, the sky got even more crazy. And so here is another composition that I did. This is the raw file on retouch. Imagine how crazy the sky was. It was one of the, in the last 12 years I've been doing photography, I would say it's my top 5 sunset ever in 12 years. And I was so happy that I was there. So that's one photo. That's another one. Actually, no, sorry. That's 1, 2, 3. That's the panorama resulting. Now that's interesting. So same thing. I'm gonna correct this one. See how this one goes. And then I'm gonna compare. So I'm gonna crop here. I'm gonna crop there and there. Maybe I don't care so much about that. I can retouch that in Photoshop. I don't like that building so much, so I'm gonna crop here. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open the shadows, bring down the highlights, boost a little bit the overall exposure, do my black point, and do my white point. I want to keep details in the sky. Okay, and as usual, I'm gonna go to shade and just add a little bit of magenta in my sunset. So that's a second option. That's starting to be much better for me. Moving further, a few minutes later, I got really stressed because it was really beautiful. And so, one thing I forgot to mention about this photo. Let's look at the settings. This photo was shot at 4 seconds of exposure. This one 4 second, 4 second, 4 seconds. So I went completely the opposite of doing by hand. I really wanted to to get a smooth water. But you see, the problem is with 4 seconds, it's nice, but you see how the water is very smooth? Sometimes I find that you get a better result by having a shutter speed that's with water that's a bit not as long as 4 seconds. So instead of going f22 50 and 4 seconds, I tried something else. I went half a second at f5 instead of f22 and ISO 100. Why did I do that? Because I was trying, you see how the shape of the water, let me boost the, see the shape of the water, you see a lot more the shape of the wave, but they are still a bit smooth. And I find that half a second is sometimes more interesting than like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or 20 seconds. And, I will show these to you in another tutorial on the day photos that I took also. So this photo was interesting, and then I went, but I was trying to find the right composition. So, you know, the rule of third, let me show you something. The rule of third here, I have 1/3 of sky and 2/3 of land. I like that, but I was thinking, what if it doesn't work? I want to get more. So I took another photo and I went almost the opposite. I actually wanted to go more, but I have almost, not quite, 1/2 of the photo is like, it's basically very in the middle, you know. I have more sky here because the sky was crazy. I want to make sure I don't miss out. And then again, I went like this with a bit more sky here, less land, and then I went the opposite. Again, a lot of water, a little bit of sky, and I just was shooting like crazy this one scene, and I wanted to try something in Lightroom. Now let me reset this one. So basically, all these photos is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the way it works is I went from left to right. So left, right, but a little bit low, right, a little bit low. Then I went back again up, this time shooting more the water. And then I had this idea. I said, I'm going to take 2 photos. This is almost the same place, but look how the water is totally different. Because the water is so random, then with half a second or 1.8 of a second, you get different variation. So then what I did is I tried different things. I selected all my photos like this. And because these two, sorry, I don't know if it's clear for you, but this photo and this photo is almost the same framing. So what I did is I first did a panorama with 1, 2, 3, 4. This photo and this photo. I didn't take this one, okay? And it gives me this panorama. That's one version. You see how the water is? Okay, it's coming from this one photo. The water was like this. And then I do another panorama where I took this photo, this photo, this photo, this photo. Not this one, but this one and this one. And I got this photo. So a different look. And it's just, it's different shape in the water. So finally, at the end of the day, I thought that this pattern of water was more neat, more clear than this pattern of photo that was more confused. Okay, so the one I basically want to retouch is this one. Okay, so first thing first, let's do, and the reason why I don't have spot on this one, my sensor was still dirty is because I was at f5. And more you close your aperture, more you have spots. So just that's one good thing to know. I'm going to open up the shadows and bring down the highlights. Check that sky, it's really amazing. And I'm going to take this cropping tool and I'm going to crop it here and crop it there. All right. And I'm going to give you a small version because this one I might send in gallery, so I can give you the full version. I'm going to give you a smaller version of this raw file so you can play around with. Okay, that's about how far my cropping is going to go. Now, of course, I'm missing a big part here, so I'm going to have to go into Photoshop and fill that in. That's my mistake. I should have taken an extra photo of that. But let's do some retouching. I'm going to do my black point because I did my shadows and the highlights, so I'm going to do my black point. Okay, and my white point, not so much. Voila. And then I'm going to go to shade and just add a little bit of magenta. That's my formula. So that's a good basic for the photo. I still need to solve this. So the only thing that I did is, the problem with this type of panorama is you get this type of errors here. You see, you have but because water is so random, you have to solve that in Photoshop, which is what we're going to be doing. But before we go into Photoshop, let's take care of the noise. See, this photo has got lots of noise. So I'm going to go into noise because I really underexpose it. The reason I underexpose it is because I didn't want to do HDR. I wanted to underexpose my sky so I would get every little detail of the sky. So I'm going to go into the noise reduction here, and I'm going to do a lot of noise reduction. So I'm going to go noise reduction. I'm going to go at least like at 40, which is a lot. And because here we have color noise, I'm going to put the color noise also like at 60. Okay, and you know I have a rule. I always take the figure 100, and then I take that off the sharpening. So 100 minus 43 of noise reduction is about 60 of sharpening. Okay, and then what I do is I then do the masking tool. I hold on the Alt key, move to the right until I see a lot of black. Remember, black is a mask and is not going to get sharpened. So that's my sharpening. I can see, so it's better. The noise is really gone. I can see that we have a little bit of chromatic aberration here. So let's jump over to here, lens correction. Let's remove chromatic aberration. See if it helps a little bit here. Not so much. I'm going to enable the profiles correction. And voila. I'm not going to do the auto because I'm actually going to do it here with the angle. Actually, my horizontal line is not good enough yet. Voila. Okay. Okay, now, sometime when I do something like this and I really like a photo and I like the colors, because I didn't do much, I might add a little bit of vibrance. This is how crazy it was. It was totally crazy. Then sometime what I do is I checked out, I go to camera calibration and check out what camera landscape gives me. Sometimes it's too much. It's a little bit too much. The blue is too blue. So I think I'm going to warm it up a little bit. But I like what it did in the sky, so it really gave it justice. Okay, so now let's jump over to Photoshop and correct our panorama issues coming from the movement of the water. So right-click, edit in Adobe Photoshop 2015. So I'm just going to take my layer and click it here to duplicate it. All we need to do to replace this is select it. So what you can do is you just take the magic wand tool and you click on it and it's going to select this area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my selection. I'm actually going to do it, modify, and expand 10 pixel, and then edit, so fill, content aware, and boom, Command D to unselect, and now it does a better job. We don't see so much line, but you can see some problems. So just take the stem tool. That one thing that I do is I take the stem tool, and because it's so random, like water and sea is so random, so I take the stem tool and I make the opacity of the stem tool around 50%. So 55% opacity. So the stem tool is not fully used. Let me just zoom in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. S for the stem tool, make it big. And let's see, I'm going to take some of that sky and put it here just to make sure that we don't see like a line. Okay. And same thing here. You see this line here? I'm going to take the stem tool and I'm going to copy this, and because I'm at 50%, it just mixes both texture better. Okay, just look for places where something that looks weird, like here, that looks weird, and just use the stem tool at 50%, usually does a good job. Here, something is kind of weird, and I think it's pretty much it. Look at this, it's a nice photo. I really enjoy it. Okay, good. So I'm gonna exit and save this photo. It's gonna import it back into Lightroom, and here we are into Lightroom. Okay, so now we are ready to do some final retouching. Oh, look, I forgot one part here. Okay, well, I can just go back. I could go into edit into Adobe Photoshop, and instead of doing with Lightroom adjustment, I do edit original, and I just correct this one point here. You have to make sure you do a good job. Sometimes that happens. Yeah, here I forgot something. So stem tool with S, make sure opacity is at 55, and same thing, we just copy and paste this here. Just play around with the texture until it doesn't look. Oops. And if you did something weird, Command Z or Command Alt Z to go back further. Voila. Okay, here is something weird also. I mean, you get the idea. Yeah, the idea is you don't want something weird to be in the water. Okay, so I'm gonna file close again, and back into Lightroom. Okay, and this should go away. I'm pretty much done here. I think the water is too blue and not bright enough. So I'm going to take a brush. I'm going to go to temperature, which is here, temp. I'm going to add some yellow and add some white. And I just want to, because yellow against blue is going to take out some of the blue. And I just want to, dodge a little bit the light here to make it brighter, so that we have more, the eyes gets drawn to the brighter spot in the photo, and I want people to see the beauty of this wave, the beauty of the sky and everything. Okay, and I'm gonna try to do a little gradient on the sky maybe. This time I'm gonna take exposure, just lower a little bit the exposure, just a little bit. Maybe the highlights even more, not so much, just a little bit, so that we have an even more crazy sky, because when you make things darker, they become more saturated. But this can look to be like a very oversaturated photo, but believe me, it was that crazy. Oh, I think I forgot something here with the stem tool, but you get the idea. That would pretty much be the final photo. So I'm gonna give you all these photos into a smaller version of RAW files, so you can play around with them and see if you can retouch and have the same result. Anyways, I encourage you to go and do this type of photos. If you want to learn more about compositing, I'm going to show you a little course that I did a while back. It's called The Art of Composition, and I think it's a good course. I'm also going to give you will see there is a little title a little code where you can get 30% off if you purchase it using this code because you've watched this video. Voila, hope you like this type of tutorial. And I hope you do take some time to take some amazing sunset. Go out on the weekends. Go out as much as you can to take photos. It's one of the most beautiful activities you can do in the world. Okay, my friends, I'll see you in another episode. So here is the art of composition. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. I'm very happy to announce that I have a new course coming out called The Art of Composition. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Mexico City doing fine art photography for gallery. And I shot some of the behind the scenes so you can see how I compose some of the photos. I will show you on each photos what worked, what didn't work. For me, composition is one of the hardest things to learn and to teach as a photographer. And on this project, I have done my best to really share with you the rules I'm using and what really makes a photo being a fine art photography that's going to sell, or what's a photography who's not going to work. I hope you love it. I'm really happy about this course, and I'm sure you're going to learn tons of things. So there you have it, the art of composition. Do you want to get hundreds of RAW files from all over the place where you can play around with? Do you want to get amazing free Lightroom presets, free brushes, free Photoshop actions? All you have to do is enter your email address. You will receive an email. You can then create an account, and then you can access this free lesson tab. You can choose from over 200 free lessons. Every free lesson is going to have source files for you to download and play around with. It's a great way to learn photography, learn post-processing for nothing. No money, it's all free. It's a gift to you as a member of photosearch.com. So thank you and welcome, and let's do some photos together.